What is up, guys? Welcome back to Turbo's Garage. Now today we're going to be working on the Turbo LS240, and what we're going to be doing in today's video is installing the 1,000 horsepower fuel system. So it's going to be pretty much different from like your traditional builds of like 5360 trucks, turbo builds and things like that, where you just swap in a bigger pump, get bigger injectors, and you get to go. With this, I'm really doing the full fuel system for the car because I don't have the stock tank anymore. I'm doing a fuel cell, I'm doing the aftermarket pump. From there, we're running all AN lines and fittings all the way up to the front, doing regulators and stuff like that. So this is going to be a little bit more in depth. So especially if you guys are building some custom build like this or something similar, Turbo LS, you get to kind of know what route to go for and kind of how to do everything. So let's jump into this video. If you guys ever want up-to-date information, get a jump on a lot of the videos, just follow the Instagram. It should be right here. And a lot of times we have a little behind the scenes stuff so you guys can just laugh at. But let's get into the video. So now getting into the fuel system, first thing we have here, we have the 10-gallon fuel cell. This is just your normal run-of-the-mill 10-gallon fuel cell. I didn't need anything special for this setup. Now off of the tank, there's -10 feeds. Those -10 feeds, what we're doing is we're running -8 all the way into the front of the car and doing a -6 return. So I got a -8 feed there. I'm gonna plug up the other side, and then from there I have a -6 return that goes back to that -10 big male fitting. The pump that I'm using for this setup, I'm just using a single pump, but it's a killer pump. So this is going to be the Magnafuel 750 ProTuner. So this thing is good for 2,000 horsepower naturally aspirated, or I guess on pump gas, and 1,200 horsepower boosted. Now that's going to be like rated at the crank. So usually with like drivetrain laws going to like wheel horsepower, you're going to be looking at maybe around 1,000 wheels. So that's really what this pump is going to be good for. Now the biggest restriction in my fuel system is probably going to be my injectors. They're 1,300 cc's, and they're good for around 800 wheel on E85. E85, you're going to be burning 30% more fuel. So this pump should last for now. If later down the road, if I need more fuel for that, especially once I go with the better motor, then I'll just like wire in a Bosch 044 and you'll be perfectly fine. So from there, we have the Magnafuel pump. We got all our filters too. I'm going to go over that as well in detail, because you need a pre-filter before the pump and you need an after filter before the injector. So there's this full deal with that. I'm going to get into that. So let's start installing some of these parts. So as we have it now, we have a 90-degree, especially female to female fitting, going to a 100 micron Summit filter. You're gonna need a pre-filter before you go to the pump, because especially any particulates that are in the system, you wanna catch that before it goes into the gear pump, because I mean, that's a expensive pump there. I'd rather have some cheap insurance for that. So this little pre-filter was only like, what, 40 bucks. So off of that, we have another female to female 90-degree, hit straight to the pump. The whole pump and all my lines are gonna be running -8. So that should be good enough, I hope, to have my power capabilities that I'm looking for. So from here, from the pump, we're gonna put in a after filter, which is gonna protect the injectors from any smaller particulates, and then from there we're gonna wire it straight to the fuel rails and start to do the crossover and things like that. So let's start installing the rest of this stuff. Dude, I don't know if we have enough fuel line, bro.
I don't know, man.
Dude, like we're looking short, bro. Nah, we got enough. That's one thing about that. Now that we're under here, you can kind of see the setup we're working with down here. Got those oil lines coming off the LS Swap oil pan. Using a stock steering rack on that. I need to put in the LS Swap sway bar. The stock sway bar still fits, but the LS Swap one has better fitment. The TH400, since I have it through FTI and they have the deep pan with it, is like the level 4 TH400. That pan is super low because it's the deep pan, and I guess how my suspension is set up right now with the T and coilovers, it's like literally you can see that like that thing just hangs down. So I'm gonna need to either do something with the suspension, get taller tires, when I put the drag pack on there. I mean, we can work it out. We'll put a skid plate, whatever. It's just like I want to protect myself from hitting that freaking thing. Now we just built the crossover pipe for the fuel rails, and this gives me a good chance to explain which type of fuel rails and fittings to use. Now if you're running like normal pump gas, just like everyday driver type of deal, you can just use normal braided fuel lines and just normal AN fittings. Now if you're running like race gas or E85, like this thing is pretty much going to just live on E85, you have to use PTFE fittings and PTFE lines. They stop the corrosion that happens, especially with ethanol. Ethanol and rubber really do not get along together at all. So usually you can kind of tell PTFE lines and fittings. Most of the fittings are going to be flared at the end for those steel braided hoses, so a lot of times you're going to see that That's kind of the indication of a PTFE fitting. As well, usually on the inside of the fitting, you're gonna have a ferrule, which is gonna be like a metal ring that fits between that that Teflon core, and then you're gonna have that outer, either it's like braided nylon or it's braided steel, depending on what type of fuel hose you use. But that's pretty much how it's gonna be looking. You need that for any type of E85 or race gas setup. So just a little FYI for you guys, especially as you're building your stuff. So what's up, guys? It's the next day. We're starting on the build again. It got a little bit too late the last time, and we like to start working on our cars pretty much in the afternoon, a little bit later, because in Louisiana right now during the summertime it's so hot out here. It's best to just work in the afternoon with no AC pretty much. But as we have it here, we have the boost reference regulator mounted. Now, just going over this regulator in just pretty much in quick detail, whenever you're running like a boosted setup, especially, I mean, apparently this thing is boosted, you need a boost reference regulator. The main reason is because as your injectors are pressurized, let's say to your rail pressure of 60 psi, if you have 10 psi of manifold pressure, it's going to push against those injectors, and you only be shooting 50 psi of the injectors. So what the boost reference FPR does is it raises the fuel pressure up, so it compensates for boost. So you really need that, especially when you're doing like a boosted setup like this. So we have ours mounted on the firewall. Pretty much how we have ours is we have a feed line to the rail down over here, crossover over the front, and then we have a especially off of the end of that fuel rail going back to the FPR, and then we have our -6 return coming all the way to the bottom. So it's a pretty traditional setup. It's nothing real fancy. I mean, you can get pretty fancy with FPRs and regulators, but it's pretty simple. So that's pretty much how we have it right now. So I guess we're pretty much done. So I'm gonna detail the setup again, going from the trunk all the way to the front and back to the trunk. But we have all the fittings mounted. Everything looks pretty good on here. So it's just, that's one thing about it, like especially when you put the fuel lines on there, it kind of like looks like the motor is actually ready to run. And one thing to know is next time you see this thing on camera after this video, it's gonna be running. So that's kind of my main goal. If it doesn't, I'm a turbo to WS6. Let's have a challenge. But so let's go back to the setup here. Let's go back to the trunk. So detailing everything once more. You probably can't see back there, but let me get some light here. So yeah, got the light over here. So you have the feed line -8 going into a pre-filter 100 micron before it hits the pump. The pump is way down there on the bottom. So that's that PT7750 Magnafuel. From that -8 going to the front under the car, we have the pre-filter for the injectors. From there, let me run to the front of the car. And from here, we're gonna have the feed line going into that first fuel rail right here, 90 degree. From there, you got the crossover, 90 degree PTFE fittings. From there, going to the rear, off of that fuel rail, going to the FPR, -6 return, going under the car, run back to the rear of the car here. And then we have it coming out the top into the tank right here. So pretty much how the system is, very, very simple. I mean, I think anybody can really do that. I got my resident fuel line person here. He did the Tahoe setup, and the Tahoe has been 2 years, no fuel leaks at all. So, I mean, he knows what he's doing. So, that's pretty much it. I guess that's how to build a 1,000 horsepower fuel system. So pretty much next time you see this vehicle, it should be running. It's probably not going to be on the road boosting and having fun, but it should be running. And yeah, so I mean, we still got a ways worth of work to go. We still got to do the cold side, doing to the front. I'm waiting for one of our buddies to come offshore, and he's gonna pretty much do the setup for me. And then from there, get a drive shaft in it, get a shifter in there, and then that's pretty much all we need. We need a drag pack to hold power, but I mean, to drive it down the street, we can use these stock tires. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. We'll blow them off at 100 miles an hour. We'll still blow these little 215s. So yeah, but man, pretty much done. Hell yeah! Shout out to the crew, man. Howard Performance, Turbo's Garage, always builds some cool ass shit. We got some cool builds coming up soon, so you guys please subscribe. We got some BMW, some Camaro action coming up real soon. Oh yeah, it's gonna be crazy, bro. But yeah, that's the end of the video. Popping open a brewski. See that Dos Equis right over there, you know, Mexican beer because we always be in Mexico. If this shit would even focus. I think my camera is drunk. It's drunk too many Dos Equis, bro. But yeah.
Maybe it's just you.
Yeah, it's probably me. Pitting on fuel lines while drunk. Yeah, what's the worst that can happen? But yeah, cool. Turbo's Garage, guys.